Okay, in this video, I'm going to title this Tools for Shotcut. So I'm using mediainfo, ffmpeg, and avidemux, and of course Shotcut. So this is going to span pre-production, the Shotcut clips, a little Shotcut editing maybe, post-production, and encoding to a higher codec. So depending on your source material, and I'm going to go through that, and plus movies, TV, re-encoding, standard definition re-encoding. So let's get started with some settings here. I use a proxy, so any clips I use, it downscales or resizes and has less quality, so it's better editing experience, especially on my Windows 7. So right now I have an over-the-air TV show I have up. Let me see here, the encode. There's a thing where I change the labels here. I'll clip that to the upper right hand corner if you want to see that video. But to continue on, I would have basically you should have custom settings to where you know the target quality, frame rate, frames per second, the aspect ratio, 720p. I have gamer videos that I have something different, and then for YouTube, and then YouTube Shorts, I have the aspect ratio turned around, and of course for certain frames per second. But you'll probably have more than that than what I have. I do on my main computer, but I'm doing a video desktop capture, so I'm using Windows 7. So went through that. So basically, the different source material. So you're going to want to have your clips. I put it in media pool. Basically, you're going to want to have media info, and what that will do is it will let you see the different when it was taken, the dimensions is 704 to 480 for the width and height, that's standard definition, frame rate, what the encoder, the last encoder encoded it, that's an old 2010 encoder, then the audio and how many channels and that kind of thing. I will link a video to create a like a context menu with a cascading items that you can do yourself. Of course, the batch files that like mediainfo uses, I can change the MP4 tags. All that will be on my website. I will link to that. I'll have the link in the upper right hand corner if you want to add something like this for quick editing purposes. But basically, you're going to have an idea of if you need certain clips have certain iframe quality, all iframes. So you're going to have an idea if you're going to need, like, if you have high action video, you're going to want a lot of iframes. There's going to be different sources, like I use an HTML cloner box, which does iframe and 2p frames and then repeats the process. That makes the file bigger, but it edits really good. You could have ffmpeg record a program off your desktop that will have a variable frame rate and odd dimensions that you'll need to correct if you want to use it in any kind of editor. So it really depends on what type of clips you're using. If you're recording the full desktop, that'll be variable frame rate if you're using ffmpeg. And I've got a video on how to do that, the batch file and the settings for like an i3 and i5 Intel, and then Ryzen 5. So that's all on my website, and I'm going to also link a video to that if you're interested in capturing your desktop. You know, you could use Voco Screen Capture NG or OBS. That will do. OBS is probably a little bit better than ffmpeg, but it's a little bit more configurable, and it might be, you know, a little bit too much. I just use batch files to just run a predetermined screen size, and that works just fine for me. There's also pitfalls if you don't change your variable frame rate. Shotcut will, and I had this happen. I did one of those projects I was talking about that I'm linking to. It basically said, okay, this has to be converted. It's variable frame rate, and it made an MOV, and I had a 100 meg MP4 video clip of the whole thing, and it made a 28 gig MOV file. And that was insane because I don't have that much room I want to spend on an all iframe MOV file. So that's another reason to use ffmpeg. And I have a special tool a program for Windows that I just created called ffmpeg Ultimate Tool. And I'll get into that. And then later on, I'm really going to lightly touch on re-encoding old movies. I redid the sound on some of them, but re-encoding to X264 and 265. I'm going to lightly touch on that because I have another video to do to get really involved in the batch files I use for that, the settings, you'll need PDFs and stuff like that. But that's for another video, but I will touch on it a little bit. So you're going to have a target of how much iframes you want. So each clip, you're going to know what it was recorded at and what you want it to be. Okay, for instance, the sample TV show, I think it's Johnny Carson. It's 29.97, yeah. So you can always upsample that, and ffmpeg will do that. You can also resize if you want that clip in picture-in-picture. You want to leave it alone. Maybe you want a full-size one. You'd maybe make another clip, and then ffmpeg can also redo that. But I prefer avidemux size to fit, and that will just make the clip as big as it can with blackened out borders, but it makes it to 720p. So there's that option if you want to upsample, and your audio if you want to keep it down for the rate factor instead of 48 kilohertz, maybe 44, you can redo that. So it really depends on the type of clips, the type of output you want, if it's picture-in-picture, but ffmpeg can pretty much do it all. So for live video, like if you're streaming on the web, a lot of times, I don't know if it's inter or intra frame rate, and it can be just all over the place. So you'll really need to do that one. But let's say I did a desktop recording. I'm going to use my program. There's a set of tools, a whole bunch of tools in here. Variable frame rate encode to constant frame rate. Now, of course, you're going to get the quality or constant rate factor, and you're going to keep that the same. And here's where you'll need to know your different placement of your iframes in the group of pictures. So if this was a fast action and you needed you needed a lot of iframes to pick out really short clips, you would have this as low as possible. And then, of course, you pick the frame rate. So each clip, you would have to know what you extract the audio. I have another video on how to change like movies that have people with low, if they're talking really low and the action's really loud, you can actually extract the audio and with an audio editor, bring the talking up to the action. So there's that video I'll put in a corner if you're interested in that. Some of these clips might need to, if it's taken from a movie, it might need to be worked like that. I think at WAV. If you want to extract to WAV, that's an easy editing format, very easy to edit really quick. So then you can use a different type, 16-bit, 24-bit, 32-bit. And then you could just integrate that back into your project by saving it as M4A extension. And then this will also replace the audio in MP4. So basically it would take that MP4 or M4A, I'm sorry, and reintegrate it, replace the audio. So your new audio is in the MP4. So it'll also replace your audio. Let me see, switch containers, change clear out your metadata. Here's that easy editing mode. I have it set at 48, but that can be anything. And then, of course, the higher encoding, the X265, which I prefer ffmpeg over the standalone X265 MPEG. I haven't got that to work. Maybe if I get that to work, I'll make another video. So there's a lot here that you need to know, and really to have eyeball what your clips qualities need to be, the iframe inside. So that should be all. Basically, ffmpeg can handle that all. Of course, avidemux is really good too. So I think I will get into real quickly if you finish a Shotcut and a project, and so you have X264, whatever it is. I think I deal in mostly X264 until I have a final project, and then I'll decide if I want to try and test maybe a portion. So I would take like avidemux, I would just take like a minute of a project, say Shotcut, and then I would want to test it because I don't want to wait like an hour for it to render just if I want to see a certain portion. So basically I would just make a minute of it, and I have a whole section, and I'm going to do a whole extensive video, but I just basically wanted to touch on it. So in a future video, I'm going to show you that, like say if I have an existing movie, TV, standard movie, or standard TV show, or like cartoons, which I'm actually going to do. I've got like over 1,000, almost 2,000 cartoons. I want to get down the file size. So basically, I use ffmpeg, and I've got a couple batch files for. The file queue basically takes from the network storage device or the start point. I can just drag, let me see, I can just drag like all these files. If I wanted to use or convert all these to x265, I'd highlight all the ones that I want, drag it into the file queue x265 command. So that's going to work on each one of these, one at a time. So that's what this batch file does, and I'll have a link to that to my website. I have that posted. The sub routine just does the individual one file at a time. So basically it has the settings, the threads I'm using, the quality, movie flags, the final iframe count and scene cut settings, and it will process, make a backup of the original, and then move on. So if you want to do a lot of converting. So the other one is ffmpeg. Let me see, I think this is the ffmpeg, but I have a x264 also, and it does the same thing. It uses the x264 standalone, so it doesn't use ffmpeg. The one good thing ffmpeg does is it handles video and audio at the same time. This I've set up to where it just does it uses ffmpeg also. So let me show you a sample. So it copies the video. If you're using the file queue, it's the same thing. It takes from the network storage device, copies it to your PC, works on it, and then you have the final encoded product, and then it copies back to a different folder called x265 on a network storage device. So really handy. You can do it from, I plan to do it from like an old computer that I don't care gets burned out because that's a lot of number crunching, and I don't care how long it takes. So that's a good, this is a good program for an old computer to handle. I don't want to be stressing out my new computer. So if it craps on me, that's fine. I got plenty of extra computers. So I downloaded this program, the x264 R3156. That's fairly new. I think 2023. I got the wrong subroutine. This is all a work in progress, but basically it makes some metadata. It extracts the audio to a file, AAC file. It then encodes in x264 using that R3156, and then once it does just the video, it doesn't handle the audio, then the ffmpeg adds the audio back in and then copies and cleans everything up and then copies it to the network storage device in that folder. So there's a lot of things going on. I will go into that into the next video, but this might be good for if you have a lot of clips you want to process. So I think I will leave it there. Keep coming back to this channel for great videos. I'm going to have this more extensive video where it goes into, I've got PDF on my website. I have PDF files of all these settings, what they mean, recommended settings. I've got x264. I don't have x265 yet, but it's got PDFs that you can print out, and as a guide, they'll give you, for the D block, don't go over a certain amount, or what the amount does might screw up your video, presets, the tuning, what that does and what that changes, keyframe rate, all that kind of good stuff. So if you want to delve in deep and get those PDFs, and that applies to anything you're doing in Shotcut, it's always good to know the constant rate factor and the different settings that you can set. So let me leave it there and look for that next program, and catch you next time.